Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name's Kyle. Thanks for checking this out. Bet you if you like cut up all of the way I start each show and like stack them on top of each other, they'd probably line up pretty good. Cause I'm a creature of habit. Hey, listen, it's gonna be another one of those weeks. Cause I'm not somebody who tries to pull content out of the goddamn air to have something to talk about. But, however, we'll be talking about exactly that today, briefly as it relates to the world of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, I got it. So it'll be a fairly quick episode, okay? But I wanted to talk about this piece of art going around right now on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, saying that there's going to be a Disney Dragon Ball Z animated movie. I said it to you guys a few episodes ago that it's going to be a shitty break because it's not going to be much to talk about. And that was in reference to like the leak that there's going to be this online web exclusive Dragon Ball Super series, not a continuation, but a spinoff of sorts. That leak came out. Haven't heard a peep about it from anywhere. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm just saying the likelihood of things like that happening in this 3-month span are through the roof. Okay. And we have yet another example in this Disney Dragon Ball animated picture. So let me give you a little bit of backstory about it. This has been perpetuated by my favorite Dragon Ball Z content creator, DBZ Exclusives. Very successful content creator, of course, but it's because he, is very much on the pulse of everything. Okay. Kudos to that. But he also perpetuates some BS like this every once in a while. And, okay, I get it. You've got nothing else to do, but like, just be a little bit more upfront about what it is. Because the idea of Disney doing an animated Dragon Ball movie in the style that it's been presented in this picture, I'm like, can't be worse than Dragon Ball Evolution, right? I sit through that once every few years because I'm a masochist or whatever. It's fun to think about. It's fun to talk about. Some people hate the idea. Some people like the idea, whatever. I don't care either way. My point is it's fake. Okay? It's a piece of fan art. And from what I understand, I guess AI generated art is becoming such a popular thing online the last, 6-12 months. I'm not sure how long it's been around, but it's like fairly accessible to pretty much anybody. And people, depending on how complicated or like advanced these AI generators are, they can do some pretty cool creative shit with them, depending on the prompts they give, the words, the adjectives, the search terms, whatever. I don't know exactly how it works. I've fucked around with it a couple of times. It's fun. But somebody, I guess, put in the descriptors to have, a Disney Pixar style Goku come out from this AI generated machine. And it kind of gave somebody an idea on where to start. And then they sort of refined it and turned it into the piece of very great, phenomenal fan art that you see it as today. That's what I understand, or that's how I understand this piece of art came to be. Okay. And that's cool. That's fun. Let's do more shit like that. I'm all about that. But the idea that DBZ Exclusive, somebody I hate that I have to complain about as often as I do, but he is so much a symbol of what the fuck is wrong in this fandom. Not only from like a spreading misinformation for sake of clicks thing, but just like being so unapologetic about it. You know what I mean? I hate so many Dragon Ball fans for so many reasons. Not the people who listen to this show, obviously. You guys must be cool as fuck if you're listening to me talk about this bullshit, but I digress. It's Tuesday morning. I've already had a few meetings and several cups of coffee, and I'm just amped up. You know what I mean? Kind of pissed, aggravated. Pissed isn't the right word. I guess slightly aggravated is probably the best way to say it. But yeah, that's the genesis of it. It was a piece of AI generated art. A fan artist, a talented person kind of took the idea of that, where it came from, or how it initially came out, refined it, and that's the piece of art. DBZ Exclusives has passed it off and has said, confirmed, Disney's gonna make a Dragon Ball Z movie. Aren't you mad? Don't you want to share this meme now because you're fucking mad? Like, fuck out of here, dude. I get that you're some kid in the Philippines making a great amount of money doing this stuff, but just, you can share it and be like, piece of art done by so-and-so artist. And I bet you it would still get passed around like a motherfucker because A, people don't read, so they'd see it and be like, what? There's a Disney movie coming out about Dragon Ball. I don't know what's up with the voice today, but you could just be transparent about what it is. And I'm sure it would go maybe not quite as far, but pretty far regardless. And given the drought of Dragon Ball content in these months, I mean, I don't know. I just get very aggravated with people because I had at least 4 or 5 people tag me in those things this week. Is this true? Tell me this isn't true. Hey, did you see this? Isn't this crazy? Yeah, it is fucking crazy. That's why it's not happening. It's crazy because it's not based in reality. Like, I feel like this is a recurring episode topic on the show over the last few years. I remember I did one maybe last year or the year before where it was like a Zack Snyder Dragon Ball Z movie is in the works or something like that. I was like, what the fuck? No! Y'all know how I feel about Zack Snyder? No! And I went and researched it, and the genesis of that, genesis is the fucking word of the day this week. So, I guess, I don't know why I keep saying that, but for the third time, the genesis of that Zack Snyder Dragon Ball Z movie thing, he did an interview while doing, I guess like a press junket, mostly virtual press junket for the Snyder Cut released on HBO Max. It was some, YouTube nerd podcast, really, and I don't mean this to like be mean or anything, but it's seriously nobody of real note that he said this to. The interviewer was not a very good interviewer. I watched the clip several times, but this is how it started. That whole Zack Snyder has a Dragon Ball Z movie in development rumor from a couple of years ago. It started with this kid asking a question saying, hey, we know you like anime. You said you watch anime with your son. There's a lot of people out there wondering if you'd ever consider doing a Dragon Ball movie. And I guess I'll link to it in the show notes now if you want to hear. I actually pulled the sound in that episode from this interview. And he just is like, yeah, that's cool. Dragon Ball Z is cool. Anime is cool. I'd fuck with an anime movie probably. And that's the whole answer. He doesn't really respond strongly to the idea of a Dragon Ball specific movie or anything. He's just like a working director who's willing to take on jobs or, consider any and all jobs that come across his desk. They had a whole rumor train about that. Zack Snyder developing a Dragon Ball Z movie. It's like, bruh, just take the 3-5 minutes to go figure out where this came from initially and realize that it's not a story at all. That's all a long way of saying same sort of situation here with this Disney Pixar bullshit. I saw a few people come out real fast and debunk it. SS Goshen 4, friend of the show, she posted shit up on her TikTok almost immediately. And I wanted to give her the biggest hug for it and just say, thank you. Thank you for helping people understand that people will pass around bullshit for the sake of clicks, and Dragon Ball Z Exclusives is that motherfucking guy. It's super annoying, and I can see why people don't like him, because it's not just me who doesn't like him. Talking in Dragon Ball content creator circles, he is not a fucking well-liked person, and it's not even for shit like this. That's all I'm saying. It's not about content-related shit either. So yeah, that's pretty much the only piece of real Dragon Ball news I've got for you this week. I talked about the Bardock DLC a couple weeks back. Then we talked about Cobra Kai. If you didn't watch Cobra Kai, shame on you, man. Cobra Kai, I still think about it. I haven't gone back to rewatch it yet, but I do want to. Cobra Kai season 5 was so fucking good. And I can't wait for the announcement for season 6, because there's almost no way they don't make a season 6 now. Hope they do. But like, what else is going on in terms of nerd shit for me? She-Hulk's been okay. I haven't hated it like most of the internet. It's been fun. It's been funny. Getting the sense that I'm getting duped on that Daredevil shit, though, which I don't like. Daredevil, Matt Murdock, hopefully both, better show up in, I think it's 2 episodes left. Feel like I'm getting a little duped there. Also, the Deadpool 3 announcement with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, the YouTube videos they released. That shit has me pretty hyped, man. Like, I know that they've hinted at the idea of doing it, or at least Ryan Reynolds has for years, and Hugh Jackman's pretty much just been like, nah, I'm good. Never say never, but cool. And if you didn't watch the videos, please go watch the videos, because they are so good. The first one is just Ryan Reynolds doing like an update on his couch about how they're struggling to, come up with ideas for Deadpool 3. Hugh Jackman walks by in the background. Hey, Hugh, want to play Wolverine just one more time? Sure, Ryan. and I Will Always Love Hugh. And then the second one they released like a day later. It's them just sitting on the couch, and it's got mad like your parents telling you about the birds and bees, or maybe your parents telling you they're getting divorced because like they're talking like themselves out of a hole a little bit. They're like, we know you're confused. We know that you have questions. And they do a cool job, talking about how Logan's still going to be Logan, its own thing. That's 2029. This is set before that. And then the music cuts out, or the music goes up, and they just have this thing where, they continue to act out like what they're going to do in the movie. And like there's fight scenes, and there's this very cool hint that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will stab Ryan Reynolds in the fucking brain. Can't wait to see some shit like that. Music cuts up. You don't really hear any of it, but they're very fun. At the end of it, the music comes back down and they thank Kevin Feige. I too am thanking Kevin Feige. I didn't realize until maybe a few years ago that Feige worked on their first X-Men films for Fox as like an associate producer, like nothing like what he does now, obviously very small time in comparison, but he was like one of the only guys who was very committed to the original books and the original stories. And Bryan Singer famously is like, fuck these blue and yellow, spandex. This is stupid. Cool black leather. The Matrix recently happened. We need to roll with that sort of vibe. So Kevin Feige being an associate producer on there, I guess he was a big push or a big endorser of them going with Hugh Jackman as the unknown to play Wolverine. And also, like, Hugh Jackman didn't really know Wolverine that well, I guess, but wanted to get to know him. And Bryan Singer was like, no comic books on set. Fuck you, Bryan Singer, for so many other fucking reasons, but especially in this moment right now, this one. No comic books on your set, bro. Fuck you. I know you made X1 and X2 was a fucking amazing movie, but anyway, no comic books on set, but Kevin Feige would have comic books in his trailer. And Hugh Jackman would sneak over to his trailer to go read Wolverine comic books or, base stories when he wasn't shooting. And that's what inspired him to, it was like famously on the first X-Men movie, Hugh Jackman just improv'd a bunch of like extra, like he'd say his lines in the script, but he'd always throw in a bub at the end. And they cut like, I think all of them but one in that movie. And that one hit so hard and you're like, fuck yeah. But gotta say, man, Kevin Feige making great things happen for the nerd world. I'm excited for Deadpool 3. I think that says September 2024, I want to say. Not soon enough. And then I know that My Hero Academia premiered episode 1 of season 6 over the weekend. I did watch it. I am super fucking excited. I'm not going to talk about any spoilers yet. I know a lot of the people here in the audience prefer to wait for the dubs. I think they're a week or two behind. We'll see how that goes. We're not going to be doing a Plus Ultra this year. I talked about that a couple of weeks back. Some people missed the memo. It's fine. A few people asked, are we doing Plus Ultra this year? We're not, because that's what the advice pod is now. When basically, we only got so much time in a day. Like I would sit here and make like 5 podcasts a week if I made the money to support that. But I unfortunately have to work on other podcasts to support doing these things. Right. So we just don't have the time to do a Plus Ultra. We will occasionally do some My Hero Academia episodes on Dragon Ball Super Dope though. So if you were a subscriber to that feed last year, we will be doing some of those episodes here and there. I think actually we'll be doing one next week. So me, Kelly, and Rayshawn, the advice pod, will be guesting on the Dragon Ball Super Dope pod to talk about the first couple of episodes of My Hero Academia season 6. Like I never read the manga. I told myself I would in between these 2 seasons, and I didn't because I'm an awful reader. I get the vibe that it's going to be the complete polar opposite of how season 5 started off with those long drawn out battles between class 1A and 1B or whatever. I think it's what was it, 1B? Who cares? Who fucking cares? It was so drawn out and padded out, like the most anime of anime shit, man. And it was just such a bad time. That second half of the last season was really fun. All the Endeavor stuff, that was dope. But or not the Endeavor stuff. That was the season before. That was the My Villain Academia half of last season. Oof, so sick. But I just get the idea that it's going to be the polar opposite, and that everything that's going to happen is going to be very action heavy, but everything's going to matter. And there's going to be so much of it that you're going to wish that you saw more of it, as opposed to being like, this recycled ass shit again, So yeah, My Hero Academia, first 2 episodes, we'll be talking about that next week with Kelly and Ray. Allegedly, that's the plan at this moment. So I do want to read a couple of reviews that I got on Apple Podcasts over the last few months. I don't get nearly enough Apple Podcast reviews for this show, considering how many of you motherfuckers have listened over the last several years. And I don't get enough voicemails. The no voicemails makes me sad. I think I'll just shut the voicemails down. Like, what's the point? Vic, they're fucking good to call up drunk and leave a voicemail like once every 6 months. Don't get me wrong, Victor. I'm appreciative of you. I just wish there was more people like you out there. Mix it up, have a little bit more consistency, but whatever. I see you, dogs. 401-213-9596. 401-213-9596. But I do want to read some reviews I've gotten in the last couple months. If you want to leave us an Apple Podcast review, seriously, that is the greatest thing that you can do for any podcast that you listen to, not even just this one. Okay. Because it's social proof, it like lets other people know that what this show isn't like a whole waste of your time. So yeah, Apple Podcast reviews are seriously the best thing you can do for any podcaster that you want to support, any podcasts you want to, see do better. Leaving them a 5-star written review in Apple is the nicest thing you can do. But I've got a couple over the last 3 months. 2 over the last 3 months. I know I'm a nobody, guys, but you don't have to rub it the fuck in. But I want to read these because one I've actually kind of forgotten I've had. I meant to read it sooner. And then we just got one in last week. So this one's from Sean C. 1783. Sean C. 1783. Which I think is Sean Chatty Chatterton, I believe. I could be wrong. Longtime Super Dope listeners will know that he is the guy who almost died and was fucking paralyzed when he was hit by, I think it was a drunk guy driving a snowplow. In like 2018, he got T-boned, absolutely eviscerated. By all measurement of the accident, dog, it sounds like he should be super dead. But he's not super dead. He is alive. He's doing well. I keep up with him on like his rehab updates. He's still living in a rehab, but he's doing better with his walking. He's losing weight. Sean's the fucking man. So I assume this review is from Sean. I don't know that it is. Even if it isn't, that's your Sean Chatty Chatterton update. I miss the kid. Hope he's listening. I appreciate this review. Thankful for a good DB podcast. I like the title of this review because it implies that there are no other good DB podcasts out there. And the absence of talking shit is sometimes the best form of talking shit. Anyway, thankful for a good DB podcast. Kyle does a great job. Easy to adjust to his voice if you've listened to Rogan. I know that he means that as a compliment, so I'll move on. They sound very similar. Instead of a podcast of conspiracy theories, you get Dragon Ball reviews. Love it. I have a very complicated relationship with Joe Rogan. I don't outright hate the man, but goddamn, is his influence to me one of the most annoying things on the planet. Like, he seems like a really cool, nice guy. He does. He also seems like he knows a lot about a few things, and that he thinks he knows a lot about everything. And in reality, he's very dumb. He will be the first person to call himself a dumb, stupid, ape-brained person or whatever. But like, just because he comes out and says it doesn't mean that it necessarily registers with his audience and they still, take his word as gospel or like let him influence them still, regardless of him admitting that he's a dummy. That said, I like Rogan. He seems like a nice guy. I'd probably hang out with him. I don't know if I'd be taking like medical advice from him, but I would certainly be, if I wanted to go out and like hunt deer or like get into fighting MMA or into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I'd hang out with Rogan. He seemed like a great guy, just dumb and not somebody you should hold as much or wield as much influence as he does in the world. But him being the most successful podcaster on the GD planet, me being compared to him. Okay, I'll take that. Thank you, Sean Chatty Chatterton. I love you, buddy. And then the latest review that came in last week. This is from Kurt Head 55 from the United Kingdom. Dude, you live in the United Kingdom? I've been following Kurt on Twitter for at least a year or two. But according to this review, it sounds like he only recently started listening to the pod. He's enjoying it. So I will read that. But he's a very talented artist as well. Kurt Drawing Man, I believe, is one of his handles. I could be wrong. But this one's from Kurt. It says, "This is a great podcast for DB fans. I only started listening to this podcast since the early side of summer, but it's easily become one of my favorites to check out. You know he's from the United Kingdom because he spells favorites with a U. And that's wild to me. Because when I was a child, it used to fuck me up so badly. The British versus American spellings of things with the word color specifically. Sometimes I put a U in my color when I had to spell it out. And they'd be like, what the fuck? Are you from Britain? And I'd be like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm from here. I just don't know how to spell very well. And it's very confusing that there's two options for me to pick from. Pick one. But now you could do it with all the words. Favorites. All right. Anyway. The host, Kyle, is super chill. Like Fonzie. He approaches everything in the world of Dragon Ball in a cool, reasonable, and interesting way. That's seriously the best compliment that I've gotten in regards to this show in a long fucking time. I want to read it one more time so that way it makes me feel good again. Super chill. Yeah, sure. He approaches everything in the world of Dragon Ball in a cool, reasonable, and interesting way. Thank you. When he discusses Dragon Ball and its fandom, you feel like you're part of the conversation. Like you're listening to a good friend. Oh, that was also nice. The podcast is always fun, hilarious, and insightful, and I enjoy when he gets guests on to discuss Dragon Ball and other topics I would definitely recommend. That was really nice of you to say, Curtis. Kurt. See, I just assumed your name was Curtis. It's probably just Kurt. Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate you leaving a review. Again, nicest thing you can do for people like me, other podcasters you like, just leave us a review on Apple, and then I'll read them and we can talk about them and shit. But I do like the idea that you guys feel like you're part of the conversation sometimes. That's good. That's the goal. We're here to talk. We're here to talk about Dragon Ball and be nerds in a cool, hopefully unannoying space. I know I can be annoying with how much I fucking talk sometimes. Trust me, I've been solo monologuing now for almost 24 fucking minutes. So, I'm exhausted. We're going to be wrapping this up very shortly. But my point is to make everyone feel a part of the conversation is very much the goal, and to do it in a community where it's not feeling super toxic, like too much toxicity in our fandom, unfortunately. And too many fandoms, honestly. It's not just us. I mean, Star Wars, the Marvel stands are out in full force lately because women. I almost made this post on Instagram the other day of these clips. Me and if you're a Patreon member, and I'm going to talk about those Patreon members in a moment. If you're a Patreon member, you know this story, but a couple weeks back, I did a podcast with, a friend. We'll call him, this kid I know. And I asked, like, hey, man, what are we talking about? And I should have known, man. He's like, we're going to talk about She-Hulk. Okay, fine. It's nerd stuff. Good. You have a nerd show. We're going to talk about like this thing that happened on the G4 network, which ended up being a lesbian woman getting like a bunch of death threats in her DMs. Go figure. And then we're going to talk about the WNBA versus the NBA. That should have been the thing that tipped me off. The WNBA NBA thing. That these dudes, all 5 of these dudes, 4 black dudes, old Mexican guy, and me. I knew they were going to hate women. And it just became such a long fucking night for me, man. I planned to jump on for like maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. I ended up yelling at these dudes for 4 hours until 3:30 in the goddamn morning because I was just so amped up on how many dumb, ignorant things they were saying. But I shared some highlight clips of that on the Patreon pre-show last week for the Cobra Kai. So if you are a Patreon member, even if you didn't watch Cobra Kai, go check out like the first 15 minutes of that pre-show episode last week because I got some bangers in there, man. I calling people virgins and things like. Well, I didn't call anybody a virgin. It's a long story. You need to go check it out. Speaking of the Patreon, I do want to thank our current Patreon members and returning Patreon member. But first, I got to make sure that I do it with the utmost class. How do you do things with class on this show? Well, I think that you already know. Oh, you know it, baby. Best song in the world. Let me thank the patrons. 1, Marcus Woods. 2, Roberto. 3, Victor O'Roman, superfan of the show. 4, David Shears. 5, Reese Andriotis. 6, Little Baby Jerry and Dan Rivera, my bud. And then the returning patron. I won't call him a new one because he's been around, but like, you know, one of the more frustrating things about Patreon to me is that people like update their debit card sometimes and then they don't remember to like update all their shit. So I've had subscriptions just fall off all the time. And that seems like what happened with Dallas in the last month. But he's back, man. He's back. Welcome back, Dallas. You get access to all these extra pre-shows of me talking shit, saying some weird stuff every now and again. Vidjias. Get some stuff early. For instance, this podcast, public feeders hearing this, they're like, man, I'm so happy there's an episode today on, Wednesday, probably, maybe Thursday, probably Thursday. Man, you could have had this early if you were on the Patreon, dog. Anyway, consider going to sign up and help support the show. Patreon.com/Dragon Ball. Super dope. And don't you know that I got to say this too? Bum, 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 da, da, da. Man, what a banger of a song. Like, I won't even talk that much because I want to just enjoy it with you guys. This song ain't no way fucking rules. Actually, I don't know how I'm going to finish this episode after this, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get creative. We're going to finish the show. This is called improv. Ready? Improv. We're gonna improv endings now, cause this is Dragon Ball Super Dope, making shit up on the fly each time. Dude, when I have like the moments, like the extra beats to really think about the words that are about to exit my mouth hole, it helps. I got some better lyrics sometimes when it's nice and slow and an island vibe. That's the show. Rate and review. Love you guys. Have a good week. Super dope.